Honourable friend from Cardiff South and Penarth for bringing this debate forward. It's not just on the Welsh lines where Great Western have questions that need to be answered, but it's also on the service to the far southwest. And it's good to hear from the member for St Ives opposite. I'm afraid I'm not drinking the same Kool-Aid as he is in relation to the service that Great Western provides for the far southwest. And I think there is huge improvements that we need. I mean, today is 5 years on from Dawlish being washed away. And we remember the hanging Prover and Rope Bridge images. 5 years on, we've had sound bites aplenty. We've had press releases and promises coming out of our ears. If we could lay those press releases together to form a railway, we'd have the best train line in the world. But we haven't got that. We need the money. And I have to say to the Minister that I was really hoping that we would have had a funding announcement to coincide with the 5-year anniversary to show that ministers got this. Instead, we seem to have half-cancelled visits, we seem to have planning applications submitted without the funding to go along with it, and we have this lack of understanding about when the money is coming. The far southwest wants our fair share of rail funding, and so we need our fair share of rail funding. The programme that Network Rail has submitted a planning application for seems to be a good step forward that would improve the service not only on the Great Western services but also on the cross-country lines that use that piece of rail track. And to do that, we simply need the Minister or the Secretary of State to announce the money. The Secretary of State and the Minister doesn't have to come to Devon to do that. They could make their announcement from their office in Whitehall. They could make it, the Minister could make it today. All we need is confirmation that there will be money, that the money will be coming, because to date we haven't had that, and the lack of funding for our train line is something that really does grate people in the far southwest. But it's... happy to.
Briefly, he mentioned half-cancelled visits. I think there was a bit of a reference to me. I know there was a bit of a media story about that yesterday. I have never been scheduled to visit yesterday. That, I'm afraid, is just incorrect. So very happy to just make sure he doesn't inadvertently mislead the House.
Thank the Minister for doing that. If he hasn't been planning to visit, I'd encourage him to visit, so he could see the problems that we're having at Dawlish. But nonetheless, the point.
Bother visiting, and then he said the next sentence, visit. I look forward to it very much, but please be consistent.
I think the Minister is confused. I would like the Minister to visit. I would like the Minister to reach into his pockets to give us the funding we deserve. I would like the Minister to not have spent 5 years of his government presiding over promises of jam tomorrow but no funding. That's what I would like the Minister to have done, and I would encourage the Minister, I'm happy with this back and forth, but people in the far southwest just want a train line that works so Great Western and cross-country services won't be cut off. And I have to say to him that 5 years on, this is not good enough. 5 years on, we needed that announcement, we needed it today, and I hope that when the Secretary of State, if he does indeed visit the West Country in 2 weeks' time, and I hope he does, when he makes that announcement, he will realise that he should have made that months and years ago, and then we would not be in the situation we are today, because the anger that people in the far southwest feel is very similar to the stories that my friend from Cardiff South has been talking about. I asked people on Facebook yesterday, people talking about their decision to drive from the far southwest to Bristol or to London because it's cheaper and faster. The people that are talking about their problems with accessing trains due to their high cost and not being able to afford it on disability allowance. The staff that work for Great Western, I agree with the honourable friend, do a good job in terms of this, but they're being let down by a system that's not giving them the focus that they need. And I think there are some things that have changed. And I'd like to ask the Minister in relation to timetable changing. The half-hour train that was supposed to go on Great Western from Plymouth into Cornwall was supposed to start in December last year, but due to the timetabling chaos presided over by his government, that's been delayed to December this year. Can the Minister reassure us that half-hour train service will start in December this year and passengers won't have to wait longer for that? I'm grateful that we have new trains in the far southwest. They're a different train model than the services to Wales. However, I would like to ask the Minister to inject an element of transparency in problems with the new trains and along the Dawlish sea wall, because I hope these new trains don't encounter the same problems as the Voyagers do on the cross-country service. But I would say to the Minister and to Great Western that if there are problems being encountered by these new trains, The best thing they can do is be transparent and open about those issues and not seek to hide them away, because we need honesty in the far southwest about our funding and about our services. I agree with the member from St Ives. The sleeper has improved and it is a better service than it was before, and we see that level of improvement right across our network in relation to this. The key thing about the West Country and our train service is whether you can afford to get a train, and the high price of those train tickets are deeply disturbing, especially in Plymouth, where we are a low-wage economy. And actually being able to afford the high price of train tickets to London, to Bristol, to other parts of the network is something that not everyone can afford. We need to see a train service that's resilient and that has a long-term investment plan in it, because it's not just about people getting the train. For us in Plymouth, a decent train service that is fast and resilient is totemic about our identity as a region. It tells a story about whether our region is open for business or not. It tells a story about whether ministers will put their money where their mouth is and fund that train line properly. I do hope the minister will announce when he stands up at the end that there will be money. I fear we're going to get more promises of jam tomorrow with no funding announcement, and I hope the minister will prove me wrong when he comes to his concluding remarks. Thank you.